Can we hurry up? What are we doing?
Yeah.
What time did we even get here? Did we leave home at 12?
No,
1.
we didn't get here till about 2.
So it's taken 90 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, done. You're definitely on red screen recording.
Yeah, but I'm a bit self-conscious. I should have worn long sleeves because people can see my big arms.
Yeah, well, I'm in the longie. Do you want to... I don't have a spare longie for you.
I'm just going to have to flex the whole time.
No worries, boys. Well, are we on or
Yeah.
is this going to be the intro?
No. Should this be the intro?
Yeah, sure.
What's your podcast called again?
The Long Run with Sean Bell. Come on.
I knew that.
Didn't you listen to the first episode with Philbar?
Yeah, I listened to all the episodes like a good girlfriend.
Yeah.
Maybe that is the intro. We're never going to start this thing.
Yeah, rip in.
All right, well, let's go. 3, 2, 1. Well, welcome to The Long Run with Sean Bell. Why are you clapping me already?
Aren't you going to do the clap for the audio?
Oh, right, audio clap.
Got to be louder
Are
than
you
that.
going to do one? That was loud. Oh, is it into the mic?
It's just so that all syncs
Wait.
up. Hang on. But yeah, I did it too low. You wouldn't have been able to see it on the camera. Last one. Okay. I think we're on now.
I want to stuff around. Well, welcome back to The Long Run with Sean Bell. I am Chloe Amanda Bailey. I've done a bit of a takeover. Sean, wait, did you call this podcast The Long Run because you went on like the longest run that I've ever known about?
Yeah, I thought it was a great name. It makes sense. Can be talking to people about their own long run as well.
Fair. I haven't run that far, but you've run pretty far. I wanted to talk to you today. I'm doing a bit of a takeover. I wanted to talk to you about what has been happening with you since the run, because it's been a long time. You're not back running. I feel like it's really hard for people to fathom how you've gone from it's kind of felt like this superhuman who ran around Australia to like you can't run. So tell me first what I mean, I know, but what the people don't know, like what's going on with you?
Yeah, it's been massive. I think I've spoken a little bit about it on previous podcasts and even last week chatting with the great Philbo. I mentioned how it's been a really tough time for me, but without the detail. I think a culmination of so many things at once, but it's been like, firstly, I was getting sick so much. I think in the immediate 6 months after the run, I was sick maybe 7 times. I felt like I would finally start to get my energy back, have a few days in a row in the gym, and then I was sick again. And I was down and out for another week. And just when you're sick all the time, which naturally would have been from a compromised immune system from the run, your mental health is a mess. On top of that, obviously not being able to do my main thing for my mental health, which is my running, because of my foot. And the foot is nasty. I think, how do I explain it? It's basically, I've just smashed my ball of foot. My forefoot is completely smashed. I've got a Morton's neuroma in my 4th metatarsal, which is nerve thickening. I've got Freiberg's disease in the 3rd metatarsal, which is...
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, I have told people, they're like, what's wrong with him? I'm like, oh, well, you know, he pounded his foot enough that he got Freiberg's disease. And people are like, oh, yeah. Wait, what the fuck is Freiberg's disease? Like, what is Freiberg's disease? Because so many people have never heard of it. Like, even, I think you're working with a podiatrist, You're working with a physio, you're working with a surgeon who thankfully has kept putting off surgery. But that's because even he, as high up as he, you know, as well recognized as he is in his field, people are just like, we don't know how to treat this because it's rare. So what is Freiberg's disease? I mean, if you're trying to explain it to a layman's
Yeah,
person.
I guess it's effectively like a nasty stress fracture of the ball of foot. So the 3rd metatarsal has flattened from so much repeated trauma.
Because the bone dies?
Yeah, it's
essentially part of the
part
bone
of
dies.
the bone has died. I don't think the full bone has died, but effectively the metatarsal head has flattened. So we all have metatarsal heads and they're meant to be round. Mine has flattened due to, or partially flattened, I should say, due to so much impact. So much trauma has effectively limited the blood supply to the bone, which has caused it to flatten. So really nasty. That's the biggest issue that I've got. But then on top of that, that's third Met. I spoke about the Morton's neuroma in the fourth Met. And on the second Met, I've got a crack in my plantar plate, which hurts a lot. And that is, the plantar plate is a ligament that attaches to the metatarsal head. So effectively, that whole ball of foot from the second to the fourth is smashed. And that's why it's just taking so long. I was thinking, am I going to need a whole forefoot reconstruction? What's this going to look like? Can I go without surgery? Do I need to have it? Is there benefit to just getting in, having surgery now? And then I've recently saw a great specialist, Dr. Michael Kingington, who Bo from the running room referred me to. And when I walked in there was photos of him with
Oh my
Buddy.
gosh, he was so stoked about everyone he saw on the wall. I remember you sending me photos of the photos.
Yeah. There's photos of like him holding Buddy Franklin's foot and Caitlin Ford's foot, and all the
You could sell those on OnlyFans.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, okay, like I feel this guy's going to know what he's doing. And straight away he reassured me and was like, mate, this is the game plan. And it was great because that's what Dr. Dean Samaras, the surgeon we were talking about, suggested, that, look, you do have these really cooked toes right now. I've got effectively my, they call them hammer toes, where
they look like this.
Yeah, my toes are just curled up. Instead of being out nice and long, they're all curled, which is a bit yuck. But effectively, it's a coping mechanism and a protection mechanism that the body does naturally from so much trauma to that ball of foot. Then this starts to happen. But the silly thing in that is these toes should be long to take some of that load, but instead it's the ball of foot that just copped it so much. So yeah, it's definitely a deformity. I've got these weird hammer toes, which now I need to tape down every day to try and correct.
I forgot about the tape.
And put it in a
I'm
natural
always yelling
position.
out, what are you doing? I'm trying to do my tape my feet every day, like every day.
Yeah.
I was kind of giggling a little bit in there, even though your foot is cooked, I understand that. But what I was giggling about, because I was just remembering, you're saying, like, I've got this crack in my plantar plate, like it hurts so bad. You were getting us to massage, like, on the run, not knowing what it was, which probably wasn't the best thing. But you also were like, yeah, it kind of feels better now. Do you think that was like in here?
Yeah, I think your brain, when you're in something like as big as the Run Around Australia, particularly when I had that left foot pain, which was only just over the Queensland Northern Territory border.
Yeah, we will get to that, yeah.
So I was like in the high day 50s, for example, and it took me 166 days to get back to the MCG.
Yeah.
That gives you perspective on how long I was dealing with this for. We certainly couldn't afford a podiatrist or physiotherapist on the road all the time. So I had...
Or at all.
Yeah.
You couldn't afford one at all.
No, exactly. So therefore what I had then was mates who were extremely generous, volunteers giving up their time. And none of us are experts. We were just winging it and just taping my foot every day.
Taping it. I was massaging it. Others, the boys, Mitch Loves Feet was massaging it.
Yeah, Mitch does love feet, that's for sure.
I just think hindsight, always a beautiful thing, but just thinking back to, like, that started early. Like, I don't think people know, because you went on and, you didn't take painkillers for so long till quite towards the end of the race. You were reluctant to take Panadol. You were reluctant to take anything. But that is one of the things I've thought of a lot since. Like, we were massaging that thing every day and it was so painful to you. Is it still painful now?
Yeah, it is, but it's definitely healing, which is good. And, one of the things that I was excited about in seeing Dr. Kingington is he sort of gave me a roadmap from here. So hopefully, if all goes to plan, which is what he's saying, which is what Bo from the running room is saying, well, August, September return, which sounds crazy because it's a whole year off running. But I guess it's... The way I look at it is the Run Around Australia was, including Tasmania, which obviously we did afterwards, including Tasmania, 14,530K. And for the last, say, 6 years as an ultra runner, I'll run anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 Ks a year. So let's just say for easy numbers, I run 5,000 Ks a year. So
I'm just going to check how much I've run so far this year, but continue.
Yeah, okay. So 5,000 Ks a year is a normal year for me.
Okay, but let's look at a normal hobby runner, me.
Okay.
How many Ks do you think I've run? It's April 18th. 650.
Yeah, I would have said about 800, yeah.
So I'm going to get to maybe 1,400 by the end of the year.
Yeah. So look,
you running 14,000.
Yeah, 14,500 in less than 6 months. That's what I was going to say. Is it's like usually
10 years of running.
Well, yeah, it was about 6 years of my normal running into less than 6 months. Like when you consider that it's 5,000K in a year, if you did that by 6 years, it's 30,000K. I did 14,500 in less than 6 months. So naturally, yeah, all sorts of shit was going to happen. And when you're in it, you're just in it and you believe in your cause and why you're doing it, and you're going to run through a brick wall if you need to. And that's what I did. And you spoke about it. Like I didn't really touch the painkillers until I really needed them. And it sort of felt like...
I think it was even like after the Nullarbor or something.
Nah, it was probably once I hit Perth and started to head east.
Oh, true.
I was buckled.
True.
Yeah.
That's when you said the turning point was, right? You got to the westmost point and then you were kind of went down to Perth and then you were, cool.
Coming home, heading back east was really tough. And I had such a great crew in around Australia the whole time. Like I love all my crew members. They gave so much. But that point, I felt really lucky just how it panned out in the sense of having Mally, Lockie and Mitch as well as Phil. So 4 ultra runners were crewing me at the one time, so they just knew what to do.
Yeah.
And I think
4 people that you knew Mitch, but 3 of them you didn't even know before the run.
And Mitch went home around Kalgoorlie, and I'm like, this is insane. From there,
I remember I had helped Sean get Lockie in. It was like you hadn't even talked to Lockie before. I had covered Lockie's run, Brisbane to Sydney. I'd put it on the news, and randomly, I think he asked like if Sean ever needs a crew member, kind of like what happened with Phil Gore as well. Like, oh, well, I can do it. And then now there's some of your like greatest friends.
Yeah, it's just incredible. Like, I think even now, a few days on from Phil winning the Sydney Backyard Ultra, and I'm there watching him and Mally's crewing Phil, and I'm watching Lockie run as well. And it was just like, and then we're all celebrating Phil's win out at dinner and having a couple of drinks. And I'm just like, this is incredible that this is
crazy
how it's panned out like this. And yeah, some really close friends now on the back of the run, and these were guys I didn't know. But yeah, once I hit Perth and started to head back east, I definitely relied on more of that. Painkillers were essential at that point. We were only having a laugh about it the other day, Lockie and I, because throughout the whole run around Australia, I think everyone saw on social media, nausea was a huge battle for me. And I think that was because you're having to eat so much as well, and like really digestion time is minimal too. It's like eat and then you're back running, or obviously sometimes you're eating on the move as well. But that was really hard, and throwing up all the time. And by the end, like from Perth back to Melbourne, it was like, you start your day with a coffee and some ondansetron so you're not throwing up. Some meloxicam, anti-inflams, Panadol. Like I had to have all of that. So that can't be good for the body. But I needed it. Like I was hurting, and it was just that foot pain was getting worse and worse, and we were just winging it. And I was so exhausted by that point as well. Like you think from the MCG back to the MCG, it was 166 consecutive days of 12 to 14 hours of running. That by the end, it wasn't really the end, but when Lockie was there, so from Kalgoorlie onwards, so about the start of the Nullarbor, I'm laying there in bed in the morning and he's taping my feet while I'm still trying to get those last few minutes of sleep before Mitch puts on the Undertaker theme song and wakes me up, and I get out there and crack into another day. So yeah, it was huge. But honestly, what a journey.
What a ride. You use more tampons in your nose, I think, than I did in the 6 months for other reasons. I wanted to go back to Dean Samaras because at the start he was thinking, but basically, lucky he's like, give it time. But surgery was spoken about fairly soon, and like a foot reconstruction, which I don't think I've ever heard of a foot reconstruction before. And so we were tossing up that, right, which was going to cost thousands and thousands of dollars. How happy are you that he made you wait?
Very. I mean, Dean's been super supportive. I've seen him now 5-6 times, and it's been really helpful. I think clearly he's been genuine, because otherwise he would have rushed me into surgery. He's given me time to see how I'm progressing. I had to have 12 weeks in a moon boot, which was really tough. But you know, he did say it would be the hammer toe correction as well as a metatarsal osteotomy. So I don't really know how to explain that to the everyday person. But if you look that up, that's what he wanted to do to this whole forefoot that's been smashed. So yeah, he said, look, try and see how it goes and starts to heal. And I had the 12 weeks in a moon boot and it really didn't help that much. And I'm thinking 12 weeks, like most people normally are in a boot for 6. And after 12, I'm in pain walking around. I'm like, how long can it be like this? Maybe.
I feel like I still picture you in the moon boot sometimes, and people still ask me and you.
Yeah.
Like, is he still like, how's moon boot boy? Like, right? That's what some people call you. And I'm like, he's been out of the boot for like, how long now? 2 months, maybe 3 months?
Yeah, I think it was end of Jan.
Yeah, but you were in that thing forever.
Yeah, it was
and people
about
still
12
think
weeks.
you're in the moon boot. He's not in the moon boot, but his foot's cooked nonetheless.
Yeah, so I saw Dean on the 30th of Jan. He gave me a cortisone into the 4th metatarsal around there where that Morton's neuroma is.
And was like, don't go and run. You're going to feel good.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And I felt great after. Like, I really did. And it's still sore. I know it's there, but it's a lot better. And cortisone is a wonderful thing. So, you know, I'm sure if I was racing again, I had something really important in 6 weeks, they could do another cortisone, probably the 2nd met or 3rd met. I don't know. I'm not that scientific like these advanced specialists, but understanding that there is definitely things that they could do to get me out there if I needed to be. But right now it's like, let's just heal it properly, because every time you give a cortisone, I don't think a lot of people don't know this as well, but you lose the strength of that area as well. So the part that he wanted to, well, that I asked him to do another cortisone to, was the 2nd metatarsal. That's where the plantar plate is, and that's been so sore. And he said
that will never heal.
And he said, look, it will help it. You'll feel better, but it's going to weaken the plantar plate again. So, things I need to weigh up is like short term versus long term. I want to be running to my own funeral. I love running so much, and it's a huge part of who I am. So, therefore, it's not something I can play with. I want to get back to running and racing, and I have this craving right now for when I am healthy to do some faster running again. I think when you do something like the Run Around Australia, which is amazing, but it is so slow day after day after day, just because of how much volume, of course the body is hurting, so it's slow. You have this craving for speed work. So fast marathon, I've done a sub-3 marathon in 2020, but it was COVID. It was an unofficial marathon just running off my watch.
It doesn't count.
So I want to do
everyone.
I want to do
Says
a proper
everyone.
one. I do want to do a proper one. So yeah, obviously if I'm back running by August, September, maybe, I don't know, look at Sydney Marathon next year or Gold Coast or figure it out. And then the backyard format is one that excites me as well.
I think it's important to say on the surgery that I'm not wrong, right? They said you might have a 3 out of 10 pain for the rest of your life anyway.
Yeah, he did.
But if we do the surgery, you still might have a 3 out of 10 pain. And then the end conclusion was like, or you might never run again.
Yeah. And
it's like, that is just wild to me.
Yeah, well, it was interesting that when I shared with Michael that Dean was thinking this, and Dean obviously super open saying, let's give it time and see, but this is what I think. Michael was like, no way. Like, I think that if you were wanting to just have surgery and then not run the same again, then sure. But if you want to get back to something that resembles what you used to do, then no way, let's avoid that. So yeah, right now he's had this prescription orthotic being made. When I saw him here in Sydney, basically created something that's super supportive. And so effectively it's just protecting that ball of foot all the time. And so orthotic is created in a way that I guess will load more of my big toe and pinky toe, so that ball of foot's not hitting the ground. And even like what I've had to wear since
are we about to see the dogs?
Yeah.
We're getting the dogs out.
Not the dogs.
Also, why are you getting the dogs out? I'm turning off the aircon because I'm
socks
freezing.
Are on, but yeah, also my feet do stink, so sorry, Chloe. But you can see, for anyone watching the video,
it's not the dogs, it's just the ortho.
Yeah, rather than the audio, you can see this and what I've had to wear since the run. So you can sort of see basically the 2 X's in the middle is that trauma. So much trauma to that ball of foot, and yeah, ultimately that's what I've had to do. I had to wear.
And you were getting stuff like that we were trying on the run, right? Trying to get an orthotic sent out and stuff like that. we were really trying everything. We had no idea what was going on with the foot. No one would have suspected it was any of that. And I cannot believe you ran for more than 110 more days after it first started hurting.
Plus Tassie. Yeah, not well.
Oh, don't forget Tassie. And I was like, don't do Tassie.
Yeah.
Why are we doing Tassie? What is the point of Tassie? But his foot was already cooked by that point anyway, to be fair. So whatever, do Tassie. And then actually, while we're on that, I had this thought the other day that you then tried to come out after your run had finished. You tried to come out on an 8K easy run with me back in Manly, and
2
your
weeks
foot
later.
is smoked.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because I didn't start my watch because I knew all the pain and shit he'd been going through. And we ran about from our apartment to the beachfront. It's maybe 300 meters.
To the end of the street, yeah.
We get to the end of the street. Lo and behold, Sean just goes, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's all right. I didn't start my watch yet because I figured. But that's crazy that, we just had no idea. I had no idea. You just thought it was pain from running.
Yeah, I think exactly. After the run, my whole body was inflamed, and so many people are like, well, why didn't you get in a moon boot immediately? And it is silly. I should have. But the reality was I had a sore right foot, like a sore left foot. My left foot is a lot worse now than the right foot.
You had some stress response in the right foot as well,
yeah,
right?
I did.
You got both. Yeah, you did get both.
Both were smashed. Stress fracture was on the left foot as well. That would have healed now. That's nothing compared to the Freibergs, the crack in the plantar plate, the Morton's neuroma. But there was a stress fracture left foot in the second met, and then the right foot was a stress response. So my whole body was so inflamed at the end of the run that I didn't really know. How could you know about that left foot? Because I thought everything's sore, everything's hurting. Just give it a little bit more time, it'll be okay.
But nobody knew because you had seen a podiatrist, you'd seen the doctor, and I think it was, let's be honest, when we got to the 6, 7, 8 week mark, I begged you to get an MRI.
Yeah, it was.
I had begged you, and you were like, no, it's fine. And I was like, I don't think at this point.
Yeah.
And you even said to me, I think, well, what's the point? I get the MRI and it says I'm all good. And I was like, but what if it doesn't? And then you get the MRI and your feet are cooked.
Yeah, I know. Well, I didn't want to spend $730 for 2 MRIs.
Just avoiding the moon boot for as long as possible.
Honestly, yeah. That was the 31st of October that I had that, and I finished Tassie's run on the 3rd of September. So that shows you there's about 7 weeks. Yeah. And then as soon as that was turned around and I got the result of left foot and right foot, I was like, shit, am I going to need 2 moon boots? Yeah. What's the go here?
I remember. I think you brought 2 moon boots home at one point.
Yeah, I did. I went out and bought 2 moon boots because they were both sore. And I thought maybe this is, but how we even got to that point was the hike. Remember?
Oh, we went on a casual 13-kilometer hike.
Well, Chloe was on a deload week.
I was on a deload week. I was like, I want to come for this hike. It's 3 hours or 4 hours. We were out for a long time because you were on the slowest.
I think you were meant to be doing 2 and it took 3.5 because I was in so much pain.
Something like that. But we were down by the waterfront, and when we were coming back up out of the trail, you were dipping your feet into this water pool. And I was like, what's going on? We were maybe 9K in, and you were just like, my foot is smoked. Now, knowing what I know now, it is fucking wild to me. Of all the shit we were doing and you were still doing and being pretty normal and going to the gym and doing the lifting and shit that you then found out you weren't meant to be doing, how were you to know? It's actually crazy to me because you never complained.
Yeah, I think.
You never complain.
Yeah. Even on the run, it hurts so much, but I'm never going to blow up at crew or anything
No, but you never even say, there were days on the phone where you would call me.
Yeah.
But the crew just no one else really knows what's going on.
Yeah. I think
not blow up at me, but call me to be my foot's cooked.
Yeah, of course.
And
I was going through that every day
do?
Since, I spoke about the left foot being a lot more cooked, and that was because I was running into the traffic almost all the time. So outside of maybe if I was out there running for 12 to 14 hours elapsed time per day. And that's obviously sometimes there was sitting down to eat and stuff like that, little breaks, but 12 to 14 hour days total, I might have had 2 or 3 hours on the left side of the road. And that was because it was obviously on the left side of the road, I'd be running with the traffic.
Oh,
No, and I
yeah,
didn't want to
okay.
do that because it's dangerous. And it's like, it was better for my body to balance it out, but I didn't want to be on the left side of the road because I couldn't see what was ahead of me. It was all coming from behind me. And that's terrifying. So I only did that when the roads were quiet, like in the morning and later in the night, when I would run without earphones and I would just listen, and then I would jump off if I needed to, or zigzag and run across to the other side of the road for that point. But if you think 80% or so of my run was done running into the traffic. So given the camber, I think it's something that a lot of people don't know about, but obviously the A1 national highway around Australia isn't built for running. It's built for driving around Oz.
It's
and
also
for,
like shaped like this.
Yeah,
So the rain goes
exactly.
down.
It's for the road trains to be able to, get everything that they need to, all their supplies across the country. So effectively they need those roads open. And so they do that so that the rain runs off the road. But that's not great for your body to be running on an angle, particularly if you're running into the traffic all the time, so that my left foot sat higher.
Yeah, wasn't one of your legs like an inch longer than the other one at the end of the run?
I'm
or
not
something?
sure.
I'm pretty sure you told me that. Someone was massaging you and they're like, one of your legs was longer than the other because of how you'd been running on like a slope the whole time.
Yeah, okay.
One of the things I wanted to ask you on the not complaining, for the last 8 months has probably been the strongest I've been, and I go out running 5 days a week and you never say anything. Do you ever just go like, fuck, I wish I was running? Because you don't say anything ever. You just carry on.
No, of course I do. I miss it, and that's why, I feel like I've been, what am I trying to say? Like, going out to the race the other day, the Sydney Backyard Ultra, meant so much, and I wasn't even running.
But did you get FOMO bad
Oh,
as shit?
of course I did. I wanted to be racing so bad, but just being back around the community, back around my people. And, I feel like for me, this 6-year goal of mine to run around Australia, I loved it, but it's done now, and I want to race. I just want to get around the community. Like, I love ultra runners and I want to support them, and whether they're doing their own charity campaign or whether they're doing a backyard ultra or a track 24 hour or a UTA 50 or 100 mile or whatever it may be, I just want to be around that. So I was stoked to be out there watching Phil the other day and supporting however I could. But of course, and I think, it has been really hard. Like the last 8 months or so since the run has been the hardest I've ever, it's hardest I've ever experienced. I've never been someone who's experienced depression, but I've definitely felt extremely down. And I think that there's so many factors to that. It's been, not only is my physical health so impacted with low energy, a compromised immune system, getting sick all the time, feeling broken, like sore, and my foot being literally cooked. It was like getting back to normal life after that huge experience, getting back to work, moving interstate to live with you straight away. Like, it's been a lot. And my support network, my best mates that I've built over these years, my family, everyone's back home. So it's been a big change. And of course, I've made great friends here in Sydney, and I love it here in Sydney, but it's been so much at once and it has been hard. So I think, like, of course, there's moments where I feel that and I'm like, this is so hard, and I want to complain, but I also know how much of a privilege it was to run around Australia, and I did this to myself. Like, it was volunteer suffering, and I wouldn't change it. It's a massive honor and massive privilege to live your dreams for 6 months, and something that, not everyone gets the opportunity to do.
Volunteer suffering being with me as well. I know we were just on the phone to one of our good friends before we came in here, and he, of course, is like, when are you back running? We need to be training for the next backyard. Someone had approached you a few weeks back, maybe down one of the south beaches or eastern beaches, I can't remember where, but you'd come home and told me that the person that had spoken to you, and this has happened a couple times, maybe more than a couple times in your DMs and shit as well, being like, but you can't be that injured. Like, people, it's so hard because people don't understand. But like, why don't people understand? Or is it like I don't, I don't understand. I don't understand.
People can't relate to the level of pain, because even I've raced 200 milers. I've raced a hard 24 hour at Coburg and been broken on the other side. But, you do that for nearly 6 months, and I know that it's at a different intensity and all of that. But I don't think people have felt what I've felt, and that's the reality. Like, there's very few people who've done something like this. And Dave Alley, who's been such an enormous friend and mentor of mine, the record holder in running around Australia before me, like, he's still got an issue with one of his toes from his run, and that was 2015.
So, 10 years back. Okay,
yeah,
wow.
like, it's just, there is so much trauma and such little recovery time. You're out there for so long, and there's pros and cons to everything. So I think that people just have always known me as someone who's running every day or nearly every day. And it's who I am, and it's part of me, and I love it. And they're probably used to seeing me on their screen on social media, inspiring them to go out and go for their run. But I can't do that right now. And, you know, it is hard to explain to people because, of course, I want to be out there. And, you know, I think it would be hard for people to understand. Like, I am young, shouldn't I bounce back quite well? But it's just so much trauma in such little time. And, of course, if I could be out there, I would be.
Yeah, I think one of the people was just kind of like, thought you were having him on, like you were lazy, like you didn't want to
like,
be.
oh, you've done the run, now you're just not getting out there. No, of course not. Like, as I said,
Have you felt like that at times? That's how some people have taken it?
Yeah, I think so. But again, like, I think that most people have been super supportive, respectful. I think it's just hard for people to relate. Like, how can they?
And what's it been like? 6 years of your life went into this run. 6 years before the run, or 6 years including the run?
No, it was 2018, early 2018, I came up with the goal. And then...
I'm like 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 20. Yeah, I'm
so
not very good at maths, just words.
What's that, 6.5 years within, like, from the idea through to executing. Yeah.
And the run's done. It's finished. It's history.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I mean, outside of you and me, that's kind of literally how it has felt. Just like everyone just wants to know what's next, and everyone's moved on to the next thing. This person's doing that, rah, rah, rah. Because you are so badly injured, has that also been hard for you? Because people always want to know what's next, telling you this person's doing this person, Does that make it, kind of compound it all even more? Because you're just like, I put so much into this, and it's just like, I mean, it's gone.
Yeah, no, it doesn't really make it harder, I don't think. I think that, of course, there's like that run was giving me a lot of purpose, like something to work towards and train towards for 6 years.
An ikigai.
Yeah, well, it was like, it was, you know, I had other races that I needed to execute on in order to build my physical and mental strength to be capable of running around Australia. So everything in some way was connected to that. But of course, that's not the purpose, and that's what I've learnt over this journey. When I was young, I probably did think, as a 20-year-old coming up with this goal, my purpose is to run around Australia, but the purpose is you. And I think that David Goggins talks about this so well. We need to train without purpose. And what he means by that is, who are you when there isn't a race to train for? You know, when you don't have that thing, that carrot in front of you, you have to do it for you because it makes you a better person, because you show up better for your loved ones, all of that. And so that's what I've really tried to remind myself, like, the run is just the run, and I'm proud of the run. We raised 177K for Make-A-Wish, and it did change a lot of lives, and, you know, it was special to be able to experience that. But at the same time, it is just a run, and there'll be another project of some sort. I don't have anything in the pipeline because I can't let myself think that far ahead with where my body is at right now. But to be honest, maybe the race or the project ahead is just these races. You know, I want to do backyards. I want to do fast marathons. I want to get around the community that I love.
There's a bug in here. Sorry, I'm just like watching it. Don't fly into
I did see the bug.
Cut this part out.
No, we'll leave it in.
Did you say we'll eat it?
No, we'll leave it in.
Oh, there it is. If it comes near you, you have to catch it. Mentally challenging, the run. Your brain was a one-track mind in the run. It was like nothing.
Yeah.
It was. I texted hardest geezers miss on the run. It was so crazy being part of it. And I know it's funny at the start on one of our phone calls, which was kind of cool for us because I guess these are the things people don't know about the run. Like, we were a new relationship, but it forced us to connect on a way deeper level, I think, than if we had been able to be together. But it was crazy hard because you were just like, you know, can't emotionally deal with anything, you just like tunnel vision. But I felt like I didn't have anyone to talk to about it, because who else I mean, I had calls with Dave Alley, right? And he would tell me like, my wife this and blah, blah, blah. And because unless you've like, there's a few, I remember my brother said to me on the phone one day, he's like, you've got to be in like the 0.001% of people in the world who have had to do this in a relationship. So I remember messaging Hardest Geezers Misso. I remember we watched The Iron Cowboy.
We did,
After he did what did he do? Like 50
He did
Iron.
101 Ironmans.
Yeah, but what was the first one?
50 Ironmans, 50 days, 50 states. Yeah.
And then he was going to do 100 in 100.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And his wife, in a pre-interview to that, she says, I remember he told me he was going to do the 100. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't do the American accent. But she's like, I remember he told me he was going to do like the 100 and 100. And I was like, do you even love me? Because it's just, unless you have been that other person, it's crazy to think about. But why I'm saying all this is because was after the run a bigger mental challenge than in the run, or is it just completely different? Because in the run, it was like kind of like you didn't, not that you didn't have time to deal with anything else, but it's just like, I got to run. I'm not saying this about me and you. I'm just saying this about like how you lived that 6 months was just like, I just got to focus and run.
Yeah, of course.
There was so much shit happening around you during that run. So much other shit that people, you know, one day we'll talk about that people don't even know at this point that you were dealing with mentally. But then there has been the big challenge after the run where, you know, you haven't been able to be your 100% happy self.
Yeah.
What was the bigger mental challenge?
The run itself was a bigger mental challenge, I would say. And as broken and as hard as it was after the run's been a bigger physical challenge, which is crazy. But I think it's just like the body will, if you have a strong mind when you're out there, the body will put up with it. And obviously I say that with a caveat because I'm not a fan of you know, people going into any challenge underprepared. And it's something that I remember even this morning we were on a walk together and I said to you, someone said to me after the run, was it more physical or mental? And I answered it at the time as, no, it's 33.3% physical, then 33 mental, 33 logistical, because I can't do it without my team. But upon reflection of that, no, it's so much more physical. Yeah, you need a strong mental state. Of course, you need to build that over years. That was so much hard work to get to the point in my mindset of I can run 84K a day around Australia, of course. But I needed to have a body that was capable of going the distance and going the distance so far every day for months and months on end. And that takes years and years. So physical. And I think that, when I was into it, I was, as I said earlier, I was going to run through a brick wall. You do whatever it takes, you're in it. What a privilege to be out there running for sick kids and chasing my dream when all I've ever wanted as a young guy was to be an athlete. I didn't achieve my dream like so many young boys and girls don't in playing AFL, but here's this opportunity that I've created for myself in running around Australia. I set this goal 6 years ago and now I'm here, I'm on the start line. So many things has had to go into that and we've made it happen. I'm just going to try and enjoy this as much as I possibly can, and it's going to hurt, but that's why I'm doing it. And so during the run, it was extremely tough, but I always had that part of me that was just, I felt lucky and I felt privileged and I felt honored to be able to do what I was doing. So that's a beautiful emotion that keeps you humble, keeps you grounded and keeps you strong. And then I think once it all finished, it came crashing down and my body was just like, I need a rest, and mentally it's been really hard. So I think I described the difference to people. Finishing at the MCG was just pure elation. I can't put it into words. Other than that, it was just it was euphoric. It was everything I've dreamed of, being back with my friends and family and you, of course, and executing what this young boy came up with as a goal at 20 years old. I can do this, and I did it. But then when I finished Tasmania, it was just relief. It was oh, my body needs a rest.
I just had a thought too, what people don't know is you got to the MCG, we got back there quite early and I had a hotel room there. And so I was like, why don't you like have a shower or like freshen up or something before? And we went in there and like had a little cry together that you're about to finish. Stalled some time, and I was like, people are going to see on Strava. It's like, why is he run down Jolimont Avenue?
Yeah.
And had a little chill.
Yeah.
Little chill in the hotel before,
Yeah, I just
before
cried.
running up there.
Yeah, I did. I just cried, and I just remember I'm like, this is like, we've done it. Like I saw the MCG for the first time, and it was just insane. And I think like that's no different to having your little pit stops where we have the motorhome on the side of the road, but we were right near the MCG, and I only had I think 38 or 39k to run that day from where I finished the previous
That's right.
day.
We up the road. We had sat in Hungry Jack's for like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Well,
well-
Sean was running past a Hungry Jack's, and I
Yeah.
just got there. And Lockie, me, and Mally. Was it
Yeah,
Mally
yeah.
there? Or maybe Victor, or I can't remember who was there at that
Yeah.
point.
I definitely can't. My brain was scat.
You know what? I think it was Lockie and Victor.
Okay.
Was Mally? Okay. Oops, sorry if you were Mally. I can't remember yet. There's been so many parts to this. But we were in the Hungry Jacks when you were running past, and we called and we're like, we're in the Hungry Jacks. And I remember you just came in there and just slumped down, had a chocolate shake, kept running.
There are a few of those.
How
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it's like, after the day after Tasmania, I was on Triple M Rush Hour with JB and Billy. And
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks, babe. Chloe teed that up, the media opportunity for me. But I remember one of them, I need to listen back to the interview again. I can't remember whether it was JB or Billy, but one of them asked me if I saw a camel out there on the road. And I said,
Oh, yeah, remember this.
and I said, no, I didn't. But Mitch did in the Pilbara. And I remember him telling me how special it was.
Yeah.
And I was like shattered that I didn't see the camel. But then in those weeks when I was so cooked, laying there in bed, trying to recover, trying to get back to some normality, and I was trying to enjoy and reflect on the journey. And I watched the Instagram highlights from the journey. And there was one day, it was around day 50 for anyone who wants to look. And I'm near Mount Isa, and there's me running along telling a camel to kick. And of course, once I saw the video, I'm like, oh, I do remember that. I do remember when that happened. But because I remember this moment, I remember seeing that camel, of course. But because I was just so fatigued, and every single day was survival, like you're in it and you're hurting and you're focusing on moments at a time. I'd forgotten about that moment when I was asked about it, day after Tassie. So yeah, it definitely took so much out of my body, physically, mentally. But that's why we do it, right? As ultra runners, I think that it hurts, but it gives you such immense pride. And I know that was one of the conversations I had with Phil last week, and he was like, mate, if I can get to the other side of Sydney backyard, it'll just be pride, and look at him.
It's so funny, even talking about the run, like there are so many things. Like when you were just saying how cooked you were, Sean's alarm would go off in the morning. I'm remembering all these things that like outsiders wouldn't know. Sean's alarm would go off in the morning, and he'd be like, okay, one more minute. And then he'd give himself a countdown. 10, 9, 8. I'm not even kidding. Counting from 10 to 0 to get himself out of bed.
Yeah.
The audacity to do that run. So I came and crewed you from Broome to Perth. And wait, not Broome to Perth, Darwin to Broome. Okay, I can't even remember. There are so many parts of this.
Darwin
I
to
flew
Broome.
in Darwin to Broome. Yes, and then
You flew to Darwin and then
flew out of Broome.
Yes.
Okay, so I was there for like 20. I think it ended up being like 26
I was
days
in Darwin.
or something.
I do remember I have a good recall when it comes to like the milestones and where I was. So I hit 6,000 Ks on day 71 in Darwin. And then Broome was night 94.
Okay.
So what's that, 23 days?
Which, by the way, we stayed in the bougiest place in Broome.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how bougie when I booked it, but there was no room service. So we're in this super expensive place, and we
Broome?
got
Darwin.
Broome. No, Darwin was like semi-bougie. But then remember in Broome, I booked this super bougie place. They didn't do room service, and there was like no Uber Eats, so we had to order Domino's.
Oh yeah, was
Remember?
it like $40 for a
We're like
Domino's?
we've ordered like 4 Domino's pizzas. Anyway, I don't know. That was just funny. And then you were like, we can't put on Insta story that I'm like in this resort. I'm like, why? It's the same as like the van's parked out the front. You're just
Yeah,
not sleeping in the van. You're just in here in your robe.
yeah.
Total sidetrack. But what I was going to say is that when I got home, I remember ringing you and I'm like, I keep feeling like I'm parked in the van because we were sleeping anywhere. We slept at a gravel pit one night. We would sleep on the side of the road in the tiny little truck bays, which you could camp in. But when those I remember waking up one night. Remember I told you I thought an aeroplane was crashing into the motorhome because the road train had gone past. But those things are just so loud. But anyway, I got home after spending 3 or 4 weeks with you. And I called you and said, it feels like I'm sleeping in the motorhome. I kept waking up having this thinking I'm in the motorhome sleep, because sometimes we sleep on the ground's not like that. It's like that. And I felt like I was on a slide.
Yeah.
After the run, did you have anything like that apart from Sean wake up and start his watch to go run?
Well,
But he's not even running. He's back home.
yeah, it was weird. It was and it wasn't a nightmare by any means, but it was 4 or 5 months after. I'm like, how long is this going to affect me for? Where I woke up and it was 3 a.m. or something like that. And I woke up and I'm holding my watch, trying to start my watch. And in my dream, I was thinking that I was on the run. And so it was just, it was wild. I think that, as I mentioned, when you're in it, you just do it and you just get up. But there were times where we'd start at the spray paint and I'd obviously do my little, hey guys, we're here at the start of day 125 and off I go. And a minute later I was throwing up. Some days it felt like I was that exhausted. I looked like I was drunk. I was swaying in the videos and I was just
We'd be grabbing you.
Yeah, I'm just
Hold on,
this is cooked because, some nights I just couldn't sleep. And one of the things that I really tried to do, which was such a great tip from Chris Turnbull, he is the fastest from Perth to Sydney, fastest run across Australia. And he said to me, try and think of your run as in hours rather than Ks all the time. So from when you wake up, have 1 hour to get running. And then from there, have about 13 hours of running time. And then have 2 hours from when you spray the ground and finish for the day to have your shower, dinner, stretch, whatever you need to do to get to bed and sleep. That gives you 1 plus 13 plus 2, leaves 8 hours for you to have in bed and hopefully 8 hours sleep. And I was like, that's such a good idea. Makes sense. Once I hit Perth and I started to come back home and I really slowed down, that was harder. But we'd refined our systems. I mentioned the team that we had in of all the ultra running boys, and we were quicker with some of that. So I could get going 40 minutes from when I woke up and, maybe an hour and a half at the end of the day and I was going to bed. So that helped because then the running time was a lot longer. But I was just so broken that you just do whatever you can.
Can we just put to bed, honey, sleep. Such bullshit sleep. As in people think well, he's run 13 hours today, so he's got 11 hours to eat some food, sleep. You didn't sleep. People think you're so cooked from the day you must be able to sleep. Can you just talk to me about that? Because there were nights, 10 p.m., 11 p.m., 12 a.m., 1 a.m. You're waking up because blood is running down the back of your throat because you've got a freaking nosebleed we didn't have an aircon. I don't know if you've never talked about that. Sean didn't have an aircon through that hottest part of Australia. We didn't have an aircon in the motorhome because it was broken. It was cooked. So he's waking up, nose pissing down the back of your throat. You're running for the door.
Nose.
So, blood running down the back of your throat.
Yeah, he said nose pissing down the back.
Well, pretty much. Yeah,
nose.
the blood's running. The blood's pissing down the back of your throat from your nose. That makes sense. You're running for the door. You're just in such pain. I remember there were nights we're swapping ends of the bed and the pillows would fall off. Can you explain to people that you're not kind of like Phil said after the backyard, you don't just go sleep for
No,
days.
of course not. It was so hard to get sleep. You're rolling around in pain. And then when I wasn't, some days I was a little bit better. You then wake up with a nosebleed or whatever. And I had so many of those throughout the run, particularly on the hot parts, which is weird because it wasn't something that, I don't get a lot of nosebleeds day to day.
No, I don't think you've had one since.
I've had a couple, but yeah, it's been pretty good. But that's the difference is people might see, it's 34, 35 degrees. That's hot when you're running, but surely, you can put ice around your neck and all sorts of things.
Because it's so easy to get ice when we're in the middle of nowhere and there's no service station for 400 Ks.
Yeah, but one of the things that people didn't really think about when I explained it to people is the heat coming off the road. So I was just on the road all day. That road is hot and my body was cooking effectively. So, my nose, that was an issue. And then, just through the night, there was always something, whether I was too hot, the blood noses, I was just in too much pain. My foot was really just throbbing or whatever it may have been. It was so hard. And you just have to, like, I remember there were mornings where I'm like, there's no way it's about to be time to get up. Like I'd rolled over and I'd seen the time and I'm like, fuck, I feel like shit. And I just had to say to myself, like, you know, what an opportunity, and remind myself of how blessed I was to be out there, because that was a big thing. And my sort of slogan that I came up for the run was, I'm choosing to hurt. And every day I'm choosing to hurt. I'm choosing to do this. And reminding myself that it was my choice really helped me when I was out there. And it was like, I'm choosing to hurt, and these sick kids that I'm running for, they have no choice and they're hurting a lot more than me. So, you know, just go out there and put one foot in front of the other and see how you go. And it was like, the whole thing was just get to the start line, start and see how you go. That first hour or so was the hardest every day, and it was so hard.
And that was our talk time in the end.
Yeah, and that was like particularly when it was dark and the sun wasn't up. There were times around Australia when I would start and the sun was coming up, and that was to do with wherever I was. Like I think in Northern Territory that lined up like that some mornings. But yeah, when I was starting and it was still really dark and my body's cooked, and you know, if you think like I'd come in at maybe 8 o'clock, 8:30 the night before, done my wind down routine, got to bed at maybe 10 and the alarm goes off at 4:35 and off we go again. Like there's such little recovery time that I'm towing this start line. All I'm thinking about is let's get to sunrise and hopefully I start to feel better. And then I'd smack down a coffee along with some ondansetron and whatever else I needed, my anti-inflams, all of that across the Nullarbor. Like across Australia, it hurt so much, but had to do what you had to do.
Do you still have dreams about it? I mean, I've full disclosure, I have a little niggle and I haven't run for 5 days, and I dreamt about running like 2 nights ago because I can't run. Do you? Like, what is...
I had the funniest dream not long after the run, where it wasn't dreaming about the run specifically, but I dreamt that I was in a backyard ultra again, because I've never done a backyard, but I just want to be out there running and racing.
Oh,
so I was
gosh,
dreaming,
you're going to be such a sicko when you can run again.
I was dreaming.
I forgot about this version of you.
I was dreaming that I was running again, and I was in this backyard ultra with my brother Az, who's not really a long distance runner, which is funny that he was in it with me. Anyway, we were doing it and I was so pumped to be doing it, but we timed out. We didn't make the first yard. And so it was like my brain was like, you want this, but your body is not ready, because otherwise why would I time out the first yard? So it was funny to have that dream so soon after the run.
Well, we did make a lot of jokes in that first. We used to try to drive the motor home for the first pit stop. 6.7 kilometers. We used to try to make it to about that mark, and that was the running joke, right?
Yeah.
Like, are you going to make the loop or are you timed out?
Which made it fun though. Like that's the thing, is I spoke about it before, it was most of the time it was 8K pit stops, but that first hour, which was so hard, was 5, 6, 6.7. And let's just try our best to make that first yard, which usually I wouldn't. I was just so cooked. But then, you know, I think as the sun came up, I had some caffeine. I started to feel better. And, you know, you run a little bit better, but you're still completely buckled. Yeah.
What did you miss the most on the run outside of a good coffee? Because I just made a joke before about saying, you know, it's 400K to the next service station, which that was the case sometimes. But it just made me think, like, I remember we ran into a couple one day. I can't remember where it was. Sorry, it's all kind of same for me. Everything's the same. But they were like, oh, yeah, we've just come from the service station like 2 hours that way. And I would be like, oh, we're going to be there in 3 days. It was so weird to think about it like that, which would mean we would have days and days without proper coffee. I mean, we had the instant stuff, like proper, if we ran out of anything, it's like, right, we've got to wait this many days, which is wild because we could just drive there in 2 hours, but it doesn't work like that when you're crewing. So what did you miss the most on the run?
I think just life is about balance. Even if you are an extreme athlete and you love doing this stuff, like the fact that there was never a switch off. There's no weekends, didn't exist. There's no going to the beach, or the things that give you so much mentally, like give me a lift and are so great for my mental health. The fact that it was just you're on and you're on for so long. And that was hard to explain to people. Like there are no rest days. I'm in this every day. And so, yeah, that was huge. Of course, I missed you when you weren't there, and I miss family so much. I miss my best mates back home, and I miss my mates everywhere. But yeah, I think it was just like you ride the emotions, the ups and downs, and like what an opportunity. And I know I keep coming back to that, but fuck, like to run around Australia, like I'm going to be thinking back on that year, 2024, forever.
Have you had any moment where and be honest, where you've been like, with all the shit you've been going through, right? Because we've hardly touched on it really, but where you've been like, fuck, was that worth it?
Definitely. Yeah. And look, I think if it gets to the point where I can never get back to the level that I was at, I don't want to say that I will have regrets over this run, but I think I would. Because I've built myself into this runner over so many years. Like you don't get to the point of running 200 miles, let alone having a great result and end up winning that, or running 200K in 24 hours unless you are, putting in the work day in, day out. And for me, it's above doing these events and racing and challenges. It's more about my mental health. Like anyone, we all need that outlet. So if I can't run to the same level, I will have serious regrets. There's been times where when Dean is saying, look, you might need surgery and this is your reality and you might still have a 3 out of 10 pain. I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like, yeah, that is terrifying. But I also need to acknowledge, like I spoke about before, it was nearly 6 years of running in 6 months. So therefore, there was always going to be something. I'd be silly to think that there wouldn't be serious things like this. But I truthfully didn't.
Not this bad. Come on.
No, not this bad. Not this bad
Yeah.
for sure. And that's what's been hard, really hard. I remember being on the run and I followed several endurance athletes who are doing incredible things. And one of them is Sean Conway, which is ironic because you spoke about the Iron Cowboy before. Sean Conway then went out and did 105 Ironmans and beat the Iron Cowboy. I think someone else has now done 120 and beaten him.
While you were on the run, you sent me someone who'd done a challenge and he's like, a year on, I'm still not right. And that scared the shit out of you when you were on the run.
It did. Sean Conway, that's what I was about to say. He said, a year on, I'm still not out of the wood. And I was like, that is nuts. But I was also like, that won't be me. And I remember...
but it did scare you because you sent it to me to be like, fuck.
It scared me, but I was like, that won't be me. Like, my body will be different. And I just thought, no, it'll be okay. And I remember thinking, like, how naive and silly looking back, but I used to genuinely think that I'd be able to get up for Sydney Backyard in October after finishing the run. I'm like, I'm going to be so fit. I've been effectively doing, a yard after yard after yard with my pit stops.
He bought a Gold Coast Mara ticket even.
This is going to be good. Yeah,
we were running when he got back.
Yeah, of course. And so because it has been so hard, it's been really hard to take in.
You brought home just a couple of weeks ago, I think it was after you saw the podiatrist, the one you were sending me photos of the photos. And at the bottom, or it was either Dean Samaras that had sent it for him or him that had given it to you for Bo. What was the second podiatrist's name? The one with Buddy Franklin's foot?
Oh, Dr. Kingington.
Kingington. Okay, well, that's why I didn't remember. A bit of a tough one. I remember reading at the bottom of the note, and I don't know how this isn't scary as shit to you, or maybe it is and you just don't say anything, but I remember it said something like, he would like to run again one day. It said something to that effect, and I just remember thinking like, no wonder people don't understand how bad this is, because it's just wild to think that there's like, and if you've ever had a niggle, a 3 out of 10 pain for the rest of your life that doesn't go away, like that is shit.
Yeah.
Have you been seeing these things that they write and being like, oh, yeah, okay. Because I'm like, you send me like a screenshot or something and I'm like, how is he not freaking out about this shit?
Yeah, I think like...
Because one of them said that. It was like, he would like to be able to run again one day. Like they would be dealing with other people who obviously aren't runners that don't give a shit about running. So they're like, that's okay. Well, you can just survive with this injury. Yeah.
I just believe that I'll get back, and I believe that with my whole heart. And that's because it is so important to me. And so, yeah, I think before when you were talking about like the regret side, at this stage, no, I'm still like that. I wouldn't trade it. What an opportunity. But yeah, I think one day if that's how bad it is, then yeah, that'll be something that I'll be reflecting on.
Of course, but you're human and you're allowed to have these emotions
Yeah,
of
of
thinking
course.
I'm assuming you've gone through a whole scope of
Yeah,
things that you've thought.
of course. And, I was just so focused on achieving this goal. Like I remember October.
You for 6.5 years. One tunnel.
October was
stuck in a
obviously
tunnel.
October 23 was when we met, and I started the run March 10, 2024.
And we were both cacking like, why did we get into this again?
Well, yeah,
Why are you
because
just going on the
we
run?
started talking online. It was actually thanks to the old podcast, the first 42K podcast, that Chloe slid into my DMs. She slid into mine.
Believe what you want. I'll let him have that.
Yeah. And that's obviously sort of how it all started. But then from there, like, it was so much going on at once. I was committed to this goal, and I was sort of like, well, if you're not in with me running around Australia, then see ya, because I'm doing this run around Australia.
And also, I just had no idea though about multi-day event. I had no idea what it was going to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if either of us really did. Well, you would have had way more of an idea, but I didn't have an idea. I was just like, yeah, running. I remember one of our first conversations and you're like, I'm training to run around Australia. And I just like I don't even think I responded to that part of the message because I was like, I don't really know what that means. Like, what do you mean you're running around? Like, what is it? And then I'm there and I'm seeing the training and then I'm crewing and then I'm like, oh, what the fuck is this? I hated the run for a lot of it.
I know you did, yeah.
Even
now you don't like
Even
talking
now
about
people
it.
like,
Yeah,
I'm like, I hate the run. That's my one response.
I hated that I wasn't able to show up for you on the run.
That's fine though. We're here now.
but
because Sean calls me, I think it was like the second week, and he goes, isn't it funny? I've wanted a girlfriend for so long and I got one right before I went on my run around Australia.
yeah, it was crazy. Look, so much happened at once. And I think it comes back to that, like sometimes things just play out at, when they happen, and it's never going to be the right time or it's never going to be the perfect time. Just go for it. But again, saying that with a caveat, if it is an ultra endurance event, give yourself years and think in years, not months. Like too many people are having a crack and towing the start line when they're not prepared. But it is something that, the immediate lead into the run, I had a stress response in my tibia. I was trying to pull it all together with sponsors, with support crew. I was still working, coaching 25 runners with First 42K. It was so much and ultimately too much. And that's why I had an injury leading in. But I just had to have that blind faith and belief that I could do it. And I just remember crying at the MCG when it happened, and I was back there and I was like, because it was blind faith so many times, I was like, I don't know how I can do this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, but I did it, and I genuinely did it, and I took every single step. And like that, to me, knowing that, I was able to accomplish something that I just dreamt and then made happen. Like, I really hope that empowers other people to dream big and to reverse engineer the hell out of that goal.
We got to crew me for my first ultra 6 months ago. He's a good crew member. If anyone needs one, he's not running at the moment. We did well there. We did well. 3 minutes of stoppage only and 50K.
Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. It's not
bad.
sitting down every 8K like me and running around Oz.
That's
but
okay.
It was massive. Well done.
You're a good crew member. Just giving very specific instructions. DMs. You said I slid into your DMs.
Did.
How many people have slid into your DMs since the run asking for your tips on how to do a run like that? Because apparently now there's hundreds of people running across countries, around countries. Obviously, I know the answer to this. That's why I'm asking, because I feel like it got to a point where it was overwhelming, and you're like showing me all the DMs, and I'm the one who's like, you can't reply to everyone and help everyone.
Yeah, of course.
There was a lot.
Oh, there was a lot. There's been, like, immediately after the run, it's probably slowed down a little bit now, but I'm not exaggerating this, about 15 people a week. And that's hard. And that was one of the big drivers for me in wanting to restart the podcast, is I genuinely want to help people, but you can't get back to all of them. And I had to get back to work, and I had to try and recover with my body, and my mental health is already down. Like, it was so much at once. One of the things that I can do at the moment that I need to be focusing on is swimming, because I can't run. And for 6 months there, I've now got a swim coach and I'm working with her and she's awesome. And I'm feeling like I'm making some progress, and I swim like a brick. So that's that.
He does. I've seen it. He was swimming Bondi, not Bondi. He was swimming Manly to Shelley one day. I didn't know he was doing it, and I was just walking. I was out on a walk after I'd been running, and I looked over and I was like, that looks like Sean. And then he called me after and he goes, I just went on a swim. And I was like, yeah, I saw you. And he's like, how did you see me? And I'm like, because you're the guy who's like not getting your arms out of the water, and it just looked like your swimming cap.
Yeah, it was bad. And it is bad. It's still bad. But where I was going with that is...
got a consistency.
Yeah, well, where I was going with that is like when you are so low, like I was so low, I don't want to try and gloss over it or say that it was easier than it was, because these last 6, 7, 8 months following the run have been so hard. And so hard that I knew that I needed to get into swimming. I knew that it would help me, but I was still in such a hard place that I wouldn't get out there, and I wouldn't sign up with the coach, and I wouldn't get started because it was just low. And I think that, it's hard to explain, because you take that action, you probably feel better with the movement. But like my body was also, I'd do a couple of days of movement and then I'd crash. Like my body just needed rest. And yeah, you're just hurting so much across like so many different areas that it's tough. Yeah.
Wipe your face.
Is this the one you put in between your armpits?
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I folded it over. You'll be fine.
Stinks a bit.
But it is demotivating because, like I said before, like I have a tiny little niggle, and you saw me. I went gym on Monday and then was like, fuck this. I'm not like, it's so like demotivating. I was like, I'm not doing anything. And I had 3 mornings where I just stayed in bed and then got up, went and got coffee and went to work. It is demotivating. So like no one's going to hold that against you that you didn't.
No.
As much as I was like, when are you starting swimming?
No, definitely. And I'm not meaning it like that. I just mean like, yeah, until you've been that low. And I think people can be in a really down place for all sorts of circumstances. But because my body was just hurting so much, it's so hard to describe to people. Yeah.
So in your biggest, wildest dreams,
Yeah.
and you do dream, because in nights that I don't sleep with my Loop earplugs in, that's not an ad, but I do sleep with Loop earplugs in, I hear you talking a lot of shit. Sean loves a chat in his sleep, and I'm always just like, shut up, which he can't hear me because he's got his earplugs in. But what is next? And what is look, I'm never going to let you do a big run like that again. I'm not going to lie. I mean, just like Iron Cowboy's wife said, like, do you even love me?
Yeah.
Like, ideally, where do you get back to? What do you want to do? Like, and don't hold back, like biggest, wildest dreams.
No, of course.
I mean, we all want to say like, go race UTMB.
Yeah, well, that's that's probably what I was going to say. Is like my number one race is UTMB. I think a lot of ultra runners have that dream. What a special opportunity to run through Switzerland, France, and Italy. 170K, 10,000 meters, like that just sounds unreal. But that obviously involves collecting plenty of running stones to be able to even put myself in the ballot to maybe get there. I want to do that. I want to be doing backyards. I'd love to see how I go. And I think that exploring that format is going to be exciting and good for me. I've never been someone fast. I used to always get run down holding the ball, playing footy, but I've always had an engine and can go all day. And I think that that's what a backyard ultra is. As long as you've got some speed to get back, you don't need to be crazy quick. Then if you've got the engine, you can go, lap after lap or yard after yard. And so I'm keen to try that. That's really it for me. Like, look, there may be a project one day, but as I mentioned, I've never really thought beyond the run around Australia. And I've realized, like, on reflection, my journey, it's the purpose is you, and the purpose to everyone listening to this, the purpose is you as well. And you need to be motivated and driven to be the best version of yourself for you and for the people you love, not just, for a race or for an event. And that's something that, I just want to get back to daily movement. That's my number one priority for now. When I'm back running, I'll just be enjoying that. And, I'm blessed to have the support of Work Inc., where we're recording this podcast right now. And, I want to be able to run to Work Inc. and jump on a podcast with someone and run back. So little things like that, I just think will be great for me. And in terms of like those specific goals. Like we'll figure them out when I have a clearer picture of what that looks like.
Gosh, Sean Bell running a backyard. I mean, you could be asleep and just doing a lap and talking so much shit to people that they'll just think you're awake.
Yeah, there'll be a bit of shit talking for sure.
You love a shit talk in your sleep.
Yeah.
I'll be like, who were you talking about last night? And then you like go through your memory bank. I was dreaming I was with my brother and we were at the footy and then like, cool story.
Which has been really weird because I have had some dreams after the run of being back on the run, but not as many as I thought. And there's been no real like, some runners will talk about PTSD from road trains, things like that. I didn't really have that. I just have felt like my brain, I've been dreaming a lot. I've been dreaming that I'm playing footy again and things like that. And, I don't have any ambition to play footy again. And maybe in the vets when everyone else has a beer belly and I'm running around a bit fitter. But
with your orthotic.
Yeah, with my orthotic and my Freibergs and my cracked plan
of Freibergs.
But look, I think just having these dreams and it's just like, which is one of the things when we didn't know the severity of my foot and I look back, I'm like, how did that happen? I played a game of basketball.
Oh, you did too?
In October.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, with my best mates.
And he reckons he had some like magical...
No, well, I had a lot of pain in my foot.
But you reckon you had some like magical game-saving...
No, I hit a genuine buzzer beater. Ask the boys.
I just can't believe this.
No, well, you shouldn't because I shoot... again, we talk about how I swim like a brick. I shoot bricks at the
No, it's just like
backboard.
Outside of running... You're a little bit... No, I'm kidding.
No, very uncoordinated. Say it how it is.
I didn't say it.
But yeah, no, genuinely. But it was Gibbo's pass. And basically, like, the fact that it played out like that and, I am like so sore, but I didn't think that my foot was broken. As I mentioned, I just thought that I'm sore. I was sore everywhere. Let's play basketball. I'm back in Melbourne for a few days. Let's see my best mates and go play a game. And so I play this game and it just how it all panned out is just like you couldn't write that script. They were at the free throw line and he hits the first and then I think scores were level when he hits the first. If he hit the second one, we'd be down. But there was barely any time. There was 5 seconds left on the inbound pass. But I'm standing at the top of the key because particularly, in a free throw, you need to have hops if you want to try and get a rebound anyway. Like I have very little hops as it is, but particularly after the run. And so I was one of the two guys who aren't in the key when the other person's shooting the free throw. And I thought, well, I'm just going to premeditate it that he's going to miss and we're going to get a board. So I better get on my bike and go down the other end because I'm moving very slow. Hopefully, we win the board and see what happens. We win the board. Gibbo has this huge pass. I just get it off. The buzzer goes and we end up winning. And yes, it hit the backboard and it was an ugly shot, but it went in. And I'm just like, after, 7 weeks of just so much like feeling down, that gave me so much. And, I know I can't play basketball again with my mates for a while, but just that gave me a huge lift at a time I really needed it.
And what an asshole misso I am. You call me after to tell me, I'm like, yeah, right, Sean. I'm sure that happened, babe. Are you sure that's not a movie you watched? Just quickly on the PTSD, on the not having PTSD, which we've heard from a lot of endurance runners about the road trains and stuff. But there are some things that I don't know if it was Sean before the run or Sean after the run or both, because we were together for a very short period of time and we didn't live together before the run. But the gym, you've walked out of the gym sometimes. You can't like complete a session or you don't start the session because your anxiety about the amount of people in there. And I was thinking about it because it is one of the things that Dave Alley had said after his run. He's like, I can't go into a shopping center full of people. I can't because it's just the isolation. And I think like being isolated for 6 months is one thing, but being isolated for 6 months with your demons when you're in a shit ton of pain is probably 1 million times worse than being isolated for 6 months. If you went and lived on an island alone for 6 months. Are these things that are Sean Bell now, or were they also you before the run? Because there are a few things like that and I'm just like, I'm quite an introvert, But I'm like, oh, but I can still get through this gym session with a gym full of people. Like, I'm like, it's hard to understand when it's not you.
Definitely. It's a great question. I think that I have changed in that because I've always felt some anxiety in life, but never with being around people. But yeah, there's been so many times where I'm just like, this is hectic. I've got to get out of here. And I remember Dave telling me that after his run and how he was like that in shopping centers. I am not really one to go to a shopping center too often, but I don't feel like that at a grocery store or anything, even if there's a lot of people. But yeah, I have had that experience. Like now you say that in, those gym sessions following the run, I was like, it got too busy. I've got to go. And it is weird for me because, I actually say to people, I'm a bit of an introvert as well. And people are like, no, you're not. You're a speaker, like all of this. But I think that I am. And we all need our alone time, our personal time. For me, a lot of that's running. I can't get that right now, which regulates my emotions. So I'm probably showing up differently to how I was in the past for sure.
It's funny, the introvert thing, isn't it? Because a lot of people would be like, even for me, but you work in TV and you're like around athletes all day and you have to do this and then, but me, like I'm quite an autonomous introvert who's just like, I just don't want to really be around. I just get anxiety being around a lot of people, but not to that level. And yeah, that is something that stuck with me, that day that you didn't even start the gym session because you were like, I can't be here. Yeah. And I just wondered if it was a Sean before.
No.
But so just want to confirm, while we're like recording on tape, while we're recording audio, I know you've got something else to do. No more big long ass runs, right? I mean, how long will we go? Are we like, I can deal with like how far is Moab? 240 miles? I can deal with that.
Yeah, I would love to do a race like Moab. That would be incredible. I think
we just watched a doco on one of what's his name? Ben Jolia or something like that? I can't remember his name.
The King of Moab is the doco. Yeah. But yeah, I can't remember his name, but great doco. Good on him. But yeah, look, Moab 240, Cocodona 250, any of the big races, like it's all adventures to me. It's all like the journey and what an experience, and sharing BVRT 200 with my mate George Chen, like that was special. I want to run with mates. I want to just get out there and race and do my thing. So there won't be a run around Australia again, but to be able to do...
No. Yeah, but okay. But that's not like saying I'm not going to run around.
No, look, there may be something.
New Zealand, or I'm not going to run across America. Oh, here we go. Okay, so I'm not getting a guarantee. Well,
I can't.
That's all I came here for today.
I can't give you a guarantee on that. I don't have anything in my mind right now, but there may be one. By the way,
Max Joliffe.
Oh yeah, Max.
Maybe.
Yeah.
King of Moab, great. Okay, so, oh gosh. If you're doing something that's like long as shit.
Yeah, you checked out.
Like longer than 6 days.
What?
You potentially would do something for like longer than 6 days, 7 days.
I think like anything a week to 2 weeks is nice. I think things beyond that.
1650.
I think things beyond that. I don't know. Probably nothing beyond that, because like even
probably or no nothing.
Probably. Yeah, probably. Just like all of it.
So we'll be back when Sean's decided on his next 14,000 kilometres.
There's no way. But yeah, pulling off that logistically to run around Oz was so much. There's no way there'll be something of that length of time again. But yeah, I'll always have a crack. So we'll figure out what it can be in the future.
Well, no one can take away the fact that you ran around Australia. And that was pretty epic. And you've always got that, even if sometimes you have these moments. Like I think I asked you in bed. Every night we say we're going to bed at 8:30 and then we just talk shit for like 90 minutes. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, can we actually go to sleep?
On the run or after the run?
No, after the run. I'm saying like now we'll go to bed at like 8 p.m. and then we're in bed giggling and talking about. And I remember asking you at one point, do you regret going on the run? Because it was like, it's
so hard.
It's overwhelming for me as well. Like it's just everything's, and I'm not even dealing with what you're dealing with. But at the end of the day, Sean William Bell, cute. Sean Bell runs, as he's saved in my phone as, which is that still your Instagram handle?
Yeah, it should be Sean Bell used to run.
And runs, used to run. Yeah,
Sean Bell used to run.
Hashtag used to run.
Sean Bell was a runner.
No, will be soon. We should do a big event for your first, like, Sean's doing his first 1K walk run. Yeah! Like everyone will come. But what I was going to say, I'm not a very serious person, if you can tell. You've been serious the whole run, and I'm like giggling because my ADHD's like thinking about other shit that happened. And sorry, but no one can take away the fact that you did that run.
Thanks,
and it's pretty
Bess.
fucking cool.
Thank you. Yeah,
As much as I hate it.
I know you hate the run, but yeah. No, thank you. Wouldn't have been possible without you. Thanks for jumping on the long run with me, and both that is the Long Run Around Oz and the Long Run podcast. I appreciate you hosting today and having a chat with me and asking some questions that probably, you know, I've answered some things after the run, but really provoking like how hard it's been. And
I just think people, like even from what I see, right, like in the DMs you get and the conversations you have, because, you know, I get to hear all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I just think like, or, you know, the guys at Channel 10 and like asking after you, and it's like people don't understand, and I can understand why they don't understand, but I just wanted to, it was my idea, by the way, to take over Shawnee's podcast for the day, and I just wanted to elaborate on some things that people don't know and how hard it has been for you, especially mentally, because I mean we've been working through it as best we can, and it's been a
hard,
crazy ride. You will run again one day.
We will. I'll get there. Giddy up.
And then I'm going to have to crew you, and then we get to fight over who the fuck's running the ultra run, because we're both going to need a crew.
Yeah. Fun times.
We will be doing a backyard together one day, and we'll just be on the track. Chris Turnbull is not going to want to run with us because he doesn't like that. We just found out. But yeah, it'll be fun.
It will be. Yeah.
And you will be okay.
I will be. Yeah.
And 4 months. The run felt like it went forever. When the run was on, the 6 months felt like forever. I don't know if it felt like that on the run.
It did, yeah. It definitely changed. Like there were times where I'm like, whoa, I'm already in Perth. Like this was, I can think back to that first day. But then when you're in it, like you can only focus on one step.
Yeah.
It hurts, yeah.
Time is a bullshit crazy thing.
Yeah.
Because then 6 months after the run, I think are we 8 months after the run now? Maybe 7. I keep saying 8, but we might be 7-ish.
I think it would be 8.
Maybe 8.
Yeah.
But you've been...
No, 7. Yeah, 7.
run
Well,
has-
August 22 was the end of the main lap. So
But
nearly
you've
8.
been finished the run now, like more, like you've been stopped running more months than you were running.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
like time is
Yeah.
a funny thing, because now we're like, oh my gosh, like the run was this long ago. But when we were in it was like, this is like going forever.
I think when the first 5.5 months went by after the run, and I was like, whoa, like that went quick. Is that how quick I did the run? Because when you're in it, you're just in it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that no wonder I'm paying for it so much now, because that was like, that hasn't been a lot of time, and Australia's a big place. Yeah.
Well, good luck with everything.
Thanks, Specimen
Good
Builder.
luck with your rehab,
Thank you.
swimming.
Yeah.
Every day now I'll be like, did you go swim? And you've been trying to get me to come swimming with you, and I don't like swimming.
Swimming.
So I avoid it. But you know what the physio said to me yesterday? Get in the gym. I didn't want to tell you this, but he was like, rower, like obviously with lifting my weights, rower, cycling, swimming. I was like, I'm not telling Sean that he said swimming because I hate it. I'm okay at it, but it doesn't mean I like it. But so maybe we'll have to start swimming together.
Wow. That would be fun. No, good
It'll be
times.
fun because I'll just be watching. I'll just be like, hurry up.
Good
Like when I
times,
used to swim
Bess.
with my
Thanks
mum.
for having me on the long run.
You're welcome. Thanks for letting me host the long run.
Giddy up.
The long run with Sean Bell.
Big thanks to Working for lending me the podcast space, and to you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review and share it with others. If you're chasing a long-distance running goal, whether it's your first half marathon, an ultra, or even a multi-day expedition, I'd love to help you get there. With Sean Bell Run Coaching, I create personalized programs based on your goals, experience, and lifestyle, helping you enjoy the process and stay consistent. And if you're after a keynote speaker who brings big energy and real impact, I'm here to deliver. I speak to businesses, schools, and sporting teams to help them giddy up and level up. For me, giddy up meant running around Australia in record time. But for your team, it might mean taking ownership of their health, stepping up in their career, or having a conversation they've been putting off. If I can go from a football bench warmer to a running world record holder,
what's possible for you and your team if you're prepared to giddy up and level up. You can find everything, run coaching, keynotes, and more at SeanBellRuns.com or on socials at SeanBellRuns. Giddy up.
Giddy up!